Hello everyone, welcome to Oliveboard. In this video, we are going to discuss about the Reserve Bank of India's Novation of the OTC Derivative Contracts Direction 2025. As of now, they are the draft direction. So first, let's try to discuss about what Novation is all about, what is OTC Derivative Contract. Before starting the video, I would like to tell you that we at Oliveboard are offering flat 60% on all our courses here, on all-in-one regulatory exam subscription. The code here is BDAY. So we are celebrating a birthday bash and you can get here 60% flash off. Okay, so here we can see RBI has released a draft Reserve Bank of India Novation of OTC Contract Direction. Before going into details of this particular direction, I would like to tell you about what do you mean by OTC derivative. We all know that derivative is a financial contract, right? And the price changes on the basis of the underlying asset. The price of the derivative contract changes on the price of the underlying asset. But there are two types of derivative contracts. It can be exchange traded, it can be over the counter as well. Now, as the name says it all, this is over the counter. That means we have entered into a contract directly with the counterparty, that too on a table, right? Over the counter pe baith ke we have entered into a contract, right? So that means if A wants to be an agreement, a derivative contract with B, he will be directly doing that contract. There is no exchange in between. That's why we call it as over the counter. दोनों parties counter पे बैठ के contract कर लेंगी. OTC contract, no exchange is there in between. So because this is a OTC contract, this is highly customizable. Okay, we can easily customize it because that's a over the counter contract and that's not at all a exchange traded contract. And here we can see a financial contract, example forward contract or swap contract. These are OTC contracts. Okay, not traded on formal exchange. This is not at all traded on a formal exchange, but negotiated directly between the parties. It can be traded electronically. However, this is not at all a exchange traded contract. Okay, there is no exchange involved in between. The parties have directly made the contract. That's called as OTC. Now, what do you mean by novation in the OTC derivative? So let's take an example quickly and try to understand the novation concept in the OTC derivative. Let's suppose there are three parties. Okay, let's suppose there are three parties: Mr. T, me, and one more party, which we can call it as Mr. RP. Okay, Mr. RP. So Mr. T, Mr. RP, and Prateek. Mr. T and Mr. RP they have already signed a OTC contract. They have already signed a OTC contract, right? Now Mr. T is not interested in this contract, or he just want to get out of this contract, so he can opt for a novation. He can propose a novation here. That means I will be taking over from now onwards. So Mr. T will transfer the contract to me and I will be the new concerned party here. Mr. RP will be in touch with me from now onwards because that's a novation, right? तो यहाँ पे मिस्टर टी हट जाएंगे इस एग्रीमेंट में से और मैं आ जाऊंगा इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अंदर. अब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किसके बीच में रह जाएगा? मेरे और मिस्टर आरपी के बीच में रह जाएगा. ओके, हियर मिस्टर टी विल बी कॉल्ड एज द ट्रांसफरर. मिस्टर टी विल बी कॉल्ड एज अ ट्रांसफरर. ओके, आई विल बी कॉल्ड एज अ ट्रांसफरी, जिसको ट्रांसफर हो रहा है. देखो, जो ट्रांसफर कर रहा है ही विल बी कॉल्ड एज ट्रांसफरर. जिसको ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, न्यू पार्टी, I will be called as transferee, and Mr. RP will be called as remaining party. Remaining party. Okay, so here I have mentioned the definitions. Transferer means the original market maker who exits the contract. So Mr. T here exits the contract. Mr. T is the transferer. Remaining party, Mr. RP is the remaining party, and transferee, I am the transferee. I am a new party to the contract. I will be the new market maker. I'll assume all the obligations of the transferer, right? So कुछ नहीं हो रहा, एक पार्टी जा रही है, दूसरी पार्टी आ रही है. This is nothing but a novation. Okay, this is nothing but a novation. So novation refers to substitution of one party in an existing contract with another party. Substitution of what party? Here one party is Mr. T with another party. So another party is me. right? creating a new contractual relationship. So don't you think that this is a new contractual relationship between me and Mr. RP? Okay. We can see here novation means a replacement of the market maker with another market maker in the OTC derivative contract between two counterparties. Sir, why it can only happen in the OTC market? The very first thing, ये सिर्फ OTC में ही हो सकता है. It can happen only in the OTC. Why? Because exchange traded contracts के अंदर there is an exchange in between to facilitate the transaction, right? If you have bought a derivative contract, let's suppose if I have bought a derivative contract with NSE, National Stock Exchange, which is a stock exchange in India. NSE is responsible for matching the buyer and seller, right? NSE is responsible for matching the buyer and seller. I cannot exit the contract and give it to someone else. That process NSE will in itself do. Okay, I can directly sell my contract anytime because that's an exchange traded contract. But that's not the case with the OTC contract, which is over the counter. If Mr. T has entered into a contract with Mr. RP, Mr. T cannot, as per his own will, exit the contract anytime. No, that's not possible. It can happen only via mutual consent, right? It can happen only via mutual consent. So that's nothing but novation when one party exits the contract and a new party enters the contract, right? And it can happen only in a OTC contract, never in the exchange traded contract. That's why this particular draft circular is applicable only to the OTC contract. इसीलिए ड्राफ्ट सर्कुलर किस पे नहीं लग रहा, एक्सचेंज ट्रेडेड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे नहीं लग रहा. पार्टीज टू द नोवेशन शैल एंटर इनटू अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट. ओके, सो यहाँ पे ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट हो रहा है. ऑब्वियसली मिस्टर टी, मिस्टर आरपी एंड द न्यू पार्टी. डोंट यू थिंक दैट हियर वी आर फॉर्मिंग अ ट्राइंगल, राइट? सो ये अग्रीमेंट जो होने वाला है, ये एक ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट होने वाला है, वेयर इन द ट्रांसफरी steps in the contract. I am the transferee, I am stepping in the contract, and the transferor is stepping out of the contract, right? I will be facing the remaining party 101 from now onwards. Okay, that's the concept. Novation in the OTC derivative contract. Novation leads to cancellation of the original agreement. Obviously, if the party to the contract is no more, right? He's exiting the contract, Mr. T is exiting the contract. So here the old contract or the original agreement gets cancelled, and establishment of a new contract will be formed between me and the remaining party, between the transferee and the remaining party, right? This mechanism will help managing the counterparty risk and maintaining the liquidity in the OTC derivative market. Huge problem in the OTC derivative market is liquidity. It is not liquid because no exchange is there to facilitate the transaction. What exchange is doing? Exchange is doing nothing but they are just matching the buyers with the sellers, right? Exchange is a place where every buyer has a seller and every seller has a buyer, right? However, there is no exchange in the OTC derivative contracts. So that's why there is a huge problem of liquidity in the OTC market. So here novation is facilitating liquidity in the OTC derivative market, right? I hope it's clear. In case of any doubt, you can let me know in the comment section. You can also join my Telegram channel in case if you have any doubt. I frequently post content related to finance. Let's have a quick look at this particular draft directions, what RBI is trying to say here. As of now, we have just covered the definition. We have just understood what is OTC, what is novation, right? So Reserve Bank of India has issued a novation of the OTC derivative contract 2025. This direction aimed to regulate the process of the novation in the over-the-counter derivatives as of now. Okay, why they are doing it? They are doing it to maintain consistency, transparency, and proper risk transfer. Look, derivative contracts do have a risk. They do have an embedded risk, right? So here Mr. T is a party with Mr. RP. They both have a contract. So Mr. T needs to ensure that they are doing a proper risk transfer to the new party, to the transferee. So proper risk transfer needs to be ensured because derivative contracts do have a embedded risk. RBI wants a better clarity, a better transparency, risk transfer properly and with consistency. That's why they are bringing these regulations, right? These directions will be applicable on all the derivative transactions governed under the RBI's derivative related regulations, and they do not apply when novation is done by a central counterparty for settlement purpose. So if it's a case of settlement, then this won't be applicable. Novation is due to merger, demerger, amalgamation, right? If merger is happening, demerger is happening, if amalgamation is happening, then in that case novation won't apply. Let's suppose Mr. T is merging with my company. That's why this novation is happening. So Mr. T will close down his company and will merge with my company. So because of that we are doing this novation. So this particular direction will not apply because this novation is as a result of merger, demerger और amalgamation. Okay, amalgamation मतलब दो कंपनीज क्लोज डाउन होती हैं, मिल जाती हैं, बंद हो जाती हैं और एक नई कंपनी फॉर्म कर देती हैं, थर्ड कंपनी, उसी को अमालगमेशन कहते हैं. ठीक है, मर्जर मतलब दो कंपनीज मिल रही हैं और एक कंटिन्यू करेगी. ठीक है, समझना बात को. ए एंड बी मर्ज हो रहे हैं और बी आगे कंटिन्यू करेंगे, तो ए बी के साथ मर्ज हो गया, दिस इज मर्जर. डी मर्जर, ए एंड बी साथ में काम कर रहे थे, अब डी मर्ज हो गए तो ए अलग काम करेगा, बी अलग काम करेगा. अमालगमेशन, ए और बी दोनों क्लोज हो जाएंगे, दोनों मिलके एक नई कंपनी फॉर्म करेंगे, ए बी लिमिटेड. देयर इज अ बिग डिफरेंस बिटवीन अमालगमेशन एंड मर्जर. मर्जर के अंदर ए और बी अलग अलग काम कर रहे थे, ए बी के साथ मर्ज हो गया, अब बी लिमिटेड ही काम करेगा. ठीक है, दिस इज द मीनिंग ऑफ मर्जर, डीमर्जर एंड अमालगमेशन. आई होप इट्स क्लियर नाउ. Okay, so they have given us the terms of central counterparty. Central counterparty means nothing but an entity that imposes itself between the counterparties to contract traded in one or more financial market, becoming the buyer to the every seller and seller to the every buyer. Basically ये exchange की तरह काम करने आ गए central counterparty. So ऐसे केस में ये particular direction नहीं अप्लाई करता है. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रेडिंग प्लेटफॉर्म वी हैव ऑलरेडी कवर्ड. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रेडिंग प्लेटफॉर्म का पूरा डायरेक्शन आया था 2025 का, जो हमने यूट्यूब पे कवर कर रखा है, आप उसको बाद में देख सकते हो. ठीक है, डेफिनेशंस वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड कि ट्रांसफरर, ट्रांसफरी, रिमेनिंग पार्टी क्या होता है. अब समझते हैं कि इस सर्कुलर का क्रक्स क्या है. ओके, वही हमारे एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, क्रक्स ही हमारे एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. गाइडलाइंस एंड मैकेनिज्म फॉर अंडरटेकिंग द नोवेशन. इफ यू आर डूइंग अ नोवेशन you need to follow certain code of conduct, right? Eligible market participants must undertake novation of the OTC derivative contract subject to the following. You need to comply with these kind of conditions here. The novation shall be done with the prior consent of the remaining party. जो मिस्टर आरपी है ना, अरे उनका कंसेंट जरूर ले लेना, एक प्रायर कंसेंट ले लेना. ऐसा नहीं कि मिस्टर टी डायरेक्टली एग्जिट कर रहे हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से बिना मिस्टर आरपी के, रिमेनिंग पार्टी के कॉन्सेंट के. फर्स्ट यू नीड टू टेक द कॉन्सेंट ऑफ द रिमेनिंग पार्टी, देन ओनली यू कैन एग्जिट द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, राइट? दैट्स द फर्स्ट रूल दैट इज बीइंग इम्पोज्ड बाय द आरबीआई हियर. व्हाई? बिकॉज यूजुअली ट्रांसफरर जो होते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, डायरेक्टली एग्जिट कर जाते हैं. नाउ इट इज अगेंस्ट द ओटीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. ओके, इट इज अगेंस्ट द ओटीसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो आरबीआई यहाँ पे क्लियरली बता रहे हैं, सर ये तो बहुत ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि कंसेंट लेना पड़ेगा. अरे मान लिया ऑब्वियस सी बात है, पर लिखा हुआ होना चाहिए ना, डॉक्यूमेंटेड होना चाहिए ना. नहीं तो मिस्टर टी तो बोलेंगे कि लिखा हुआ ही नहीं था, आई एम तो एग्जिटिंग द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, देयर इज नथिंग इन राइटिंग. सो आरबीआई क्लियरली बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पे कि अगर आपको बाहर जाना है तो आप जा सकते हो. ठीक है, खुशी खुशी जाओ, पर कंसेंट होना चाहिए. किसका? रिमेनिंग पार्टी का, कि मैं बाहर जा रहा हूं और एक नई पार्टी अंदर आ रही है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के. फर्स्ट थिंग शुड बी कंसेंट ऑफ द रिमेनिंग पार्टी. ओके, सो डू रिमेंबर दिस. नेक्स्ट, ट्रांजेक्शन शैल बी अंडरटेकन एट द प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट. सर कौन सा ट्रांजेक्शन हो रहा है? देखो समझना, मिस्टर टी और मिस्टर आरपी के बीच में तो ऑलरेडी एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो चुका है, ओटीसी. आई एम एंटरिंग इनटू द पिक्चर नाउ. सो क्या मेरा ट्रांजेक्शन नहीं हो रहा मिस्टर टी के साथ में? डेफिनेटली हो रहा है. ये किस पे होगा? प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट प्राइस पे होगा. किस पे होगा? प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट पे होगा. सर प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट का क्या मतलब होता है? अरे मार्क टू मार्केट कर दो, एम टू एम कर दो, मार्क टू मार्केट. 10 लाख रुपए का एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, ऑलरेडी मिस्टर टी इससे 1 लाख रुपए फेवर के अंदर आ चुके हैं. ठीक है, डेरिवेटिव कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वी ऑलवेज बुक इट इन मार्क टू मार्केट. ओके, so Mr. T already is having 1 lakh rupee profit, let's suppose. So I will pay 1 lakh rupee to Mr. T, that's all. आई विल डायरेक्टली पे 1 लाख रुपी टू मिस्टर टी, दैट्स मार्क टू मार्केट। तो जो भी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू चल रही होगी, जो भी मार्केट प्राइस चल रही होगी, उस वजह से उस तरीके से यहाँ पे सेटलमेंट हो जाएगा, इजी। ओके, so novation shall be exchanged between the transferor and the transferee on the prevailing market price। so यहाँ पे ट्रांसफरर और ट्रांसफरी की बात करिए, मतलब मिस्टर टी और मेरी बात करिए, ठीक है। मिस्टर टी इज ट्रांसफरर, आई एम द ट्रांसफरी, विल बी डूइंग द ट्रांजेक्शन एट द प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट, दैट टू वी विल मार्क टू मार्केट, वी विल मार्क टू मार्केट। आई हैव गिवन एन एग्जांपल एज वेल हियर, राइट। जो एग्जांपल मैंने कोट किया था वही आई हैव स्टेटेड हियर। Next is the parties to the novation shall adhere to the provisions of the governing direction, this particular direction and the previously issued directions. Plus, the new contract should also be in compliance with the governing directions। जो नया contract होने जा रहा है मेरे और आरपी के बीच में, remaining party के बीच में, वो भी directions को comply करेगा, ठीक है। तो 3 सिंपल सी चीजें यार। सबसे पहले तो consent ले लो, ठीक है। सबसे पहले क्या ले लो, take consent of the remaining party, then the transferor and transferee needs to do transaction at the prevailing market price, that too they need to opt for mark to market value, that too they need to opt for mark to market value, and everything will be governed by the directions। so these 3 things as of now we have studied, right। parties to the novation shall enter into a triple agreement। why? because we can see a triangle here, right। we can see a triangle here, Mr. T wants to leave, Mr. T wants to leave the contract, Mr. T wants to leave the contract, I want to enter into the contract, Mr. RP is the remaining party, so I'll be directly in touch with Mr. RP in the future। so don't you think that this is a triangle, this will be a triple agreement, okay। यहाँ पे triple agreement form किया जाएगा। इफ आई एम डूइंग अ नोवेशन, ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट फॉर्म किया जाएगा कि मिस्टर आरपी को कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है कि मैं ट्रांजेक्शन के अंदर आ रहा हूं, आई एम एंटरिंग इनटू द ट्रांजेक्शन, सो वेदर मिस्टर आरपी इज फाइन विद दैट और नॉट, राइट। देयर शुड बी अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट हियर, ओके। सो एंटर इनटू अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट, द ओरिजिनल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट शैल बी एक्सटिंग्विश्ड। जो पहले इन दोनों के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, दैट इज नाउ ओवर, दैट इज कंप्लीटली एक्सटिंग्विश्ड एज ऑफ नाउ, and shall be replaced by a new contract। अब नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आ जाएगा भाई, राइट, with identical terms and parameters, terms and conditions identically रहेंगी जो पुराने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में थी। however in the old contract obviously the name of Mr. T is written, how can we continue it, right। that's why we have drafted a new contract which will succeed the old contract, right। याद तक सही है। And you need to follow the specific criteria as well। The counterparty credit risk and market risk arising out of the OTC derivative contract is transferred from the transferor to the transferee। समझना बात को। This particular contract is having certain types of risk and rewards, is having definitely certain types of risk। It can be credit risk, it can be market risk। so this risk should be transferred from the from the transferor Mr. T to Prateek to the transferee। so risk कहां से कहां आ जानी चाहिए, ट्रांसफरर से ट्रांसफरी मेरे पास आ जाना चाहिए, मिस्टर टी से मेरे पास आ जानी चाहिए। यार ऑब्वियस ही बात है, नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंटर कर रहा हूं तो जो मिस्टर टी की रिस्क है वो सारी मेरी हो जाएगी, जो मिस्टर टी के अब से आने वाले रिवॉर्ड्स हो मेरे हो जाएंगे, ऑब्वियस सी बात है, राइट। सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज transfer all the kind of risk here, credit risk as well as market risk to the transferee। next, the transferor and the remaining party are each released from their obligation। transferor Mr. T and Mr. RP, भाई तुम दोनों रिलीज हो चुके हो पुराने ऑब्लिगेशन से, ऑब्वियस सी बात है, पुराना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही खत्म हो गया तो तुम तो रिलीज हो गए ना, अभी भी बंधे हुए थोड़ी रहोगे, राइट। अब तुम्हारा ये जो बॉन्ड था, तुम्हारा जो बंधन था, राइट, वो अब टूट चुका है। व्हाई? बिकॉज वी आर एंटरिंग इनटू अ न्यू ट्रांजैक्शन। नाउ आरपी इज बाउंड बाय माय ट्रांजैक्शन, आई एम बाउंड बाय आरपी's ट्रांजैक्शन, राइट। वी हैव एंटर्ड इनटू अ न्यू ट्रांजैक्शन। सो पुरानी बॉन्डिंग को खत्म करो, नई बॉन्डिंग को चालू करो, ओके। फीस एंड चार्जेस, नाउ दैट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट। फीस एंड चार्जेस, मिस्टर टी एंड आई एम डूइंग अ ट्रांजैक्शन for entering into an agreement, right, an OTC agreement। definitely this transaction is happening on the prevailing market prices on mark to market value. However, if Mr. T wants to charge any fees from me, he can do it. Mr. T can charge a fees from me, ट्रांजेक्शन फीस के नाम पे या कोई भी फीस के नाम पे मुझसे फीस चार्ज कर सकते हैं. एंड इफ आई पे हिम द फीस, इफ द फीस हैज बीन एग्रीड, this won't form part of the triple agreement. This will be outside the triple agreement. यार आप पुराना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हटा रहे थे, नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ला रहे हो, तो वहां पे RP is also the concerned party, right? If I am scrapping the old contract and a new party is entering the contract, then here RP is also the concerned party. Why? Because he also needs to enter into a contract with a new guy. So that's why we were entering the triple agreement. But in case Mr. T is charging anything from me, if the transferor is charging anything from transferee, additional, apart from the mark to market settlement, any kind of fees or any kind of charge, he can do so. But that will remain completely outside the contract, outside the triple contract. You can form a new contract with the transferor and the transferee directly. Okay. Relevant documents related to the original OTC derivative contract and everything will be transferred from the transferee to the transferor to the transferee. Mr. T अपने सारे डॉक्यूमेंट मुझे ट्रांसफर कर देंगे फॉर ऑब्वियस रीजंस, क्योंकि मैं अब नई कंसर्न पार्टी हूं, राइट? Participants eligibility: only the market entities that have received prior approval from the RBI are permitted to undertake the novation transactions here. Mandatory documentation था और transaction reporting भी होती है यहाँ पे. We need to compulsorily report the transaction to the trade repositories or any other authority designated by the RBI from time to time. So these kind of novations, if they are happening, you need to report them to the trade repositories, and that's compulsory, or any other authority as mentioned by the RBI. Okay. So process execution, the operational process procedure for carrying out the novation, that needs to be very, very clear. Okay. Obtaining prior consent from the relevant parties and verifying all the terms and conditions before the new contract is identified. Obviously बात है यार, consent लेना है, पहले ही बात हो गई थी. If you talk about the documentation, then FIMDA, Fixed Income Money Market and Derivative Association of India, and the FEDI, Foreign Exchange Dealer Association of India. Now the FIMDA and the FEDI, as applicable in consultation with the market participants and based on the international best practices, shall devise a standard agreement for novation. ये बताएंगे, ये दोनों पार्टीज बताएंगी, FIMDA और FEDI, कि तुम्हारा नोवेशन का स्टैंडर्ड अग्रीमेंट कैसा होना चाहिए. What should be the format of your novation contract? However, market participants may alternatively use a standard master agreement as well for novation. वैसे तो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस के हिसाब से ये दोनों ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बताएंगी. Still, if the market participant wants, they can enter into any kind of standard agreement. There is no compulsion in that, right? Reporting. You need to compulsorily report the novations of the OTC derivative contract to the trade repositories of Clearing Corporation of India here. Okay, that's compulsory. Significance of the move, so definitely counterparty risk management. यार अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में रिस्क है और मैं आने वाला हूँ उस केस के अंदर, मिस्टर टी जा रहे हैं, मैं आ रहा हूँ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, so I should know the risk that is there in the contract. So this particular counterparty risk management system will be in place once this draft direction is out as final direction. Market liquidity बनी रहेगी. Obviously OTC direction में there is a lack of liquidity, so now there will be liquidity because of the novation contract, standardized novation contract. Trade flexibility रहेगी, कोई भी कभी भी contract से आ सकता है, कोई भी जा सकता है. And global best practices, because in the matured financial markets this particular concept of novation is already there. In India we are still having a developing financial market, so we have also followed the global best practices here, right? I have given an example as well of novation here. Later on you can check this example as well for better understanding. In case of any doubts, you can always reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me in case if you are having any doubt, whether related to technical, whether related to preparation. Here are two questions for you guys, okay, that you need to answer. The first one is, which of the following is not a valid condition for the novation of OTC derivative contract as per the RBI Direction 2025? So I have given you 5 pointers here. You need to tell the correct choice here in the comment section later on. Okay, after watching this video, after understanding all the directions, do download this PDF. Let me know in the comment section. देखते हैं किस किस को ये क्वेश्चन आता है, कौन कौन ये सॉल्व कर पाता है. Okay, be participative in that. So first question for your homework is this. One more question I am giving. In this question you need to identify the incorrect statement. So here I am giving you 5 statements. Do let me know in the comment section what do you think should be the correct choice, both for question 1 and for question 2. Okay, if you like my content, do hit the like button and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you soon in some other video. Bye bye, take care.